Okay. Good evening. Call to order meeting number 1849 of the East Windsor Planning and Zoning Commission. We are live here at the John Daly Meeting Room at the Town Hall, as well as available via the Zoom platform. We have a quorum. We have 3 regular members and 1 alternate. Frank, I would ask you to sit in this evening on any discussions and voting that may occur. Yes, sir. Thank you. I also like to take this opportunity to welcome Stacy McKenna, a new member to our board. It's our first meeting here. Welcome aboard. Thank you for joining us. Okay. Added agenda items. We don't have any. There was a legal notice. The East Windsor Planning and Zoning Commission will hold the following public hearing on Tuesday, April 25th, 2023 at 6:30. Details regarding how to attend will be published on the commission's agenda, and will be made available on the town website. We have PZ 2023-12. The applicant is Marley. I'm going to cover the last name.
Oh. In Lionsdale?
I'm sorry for
It's okay.
okay. 115 Bridge Street is requesting a zone change from zone B1 to R1. This is on map 111, block 12, lot 005, zone B1. The full copy of the application is available on the Planning and Zoning Commission website of the town webpage of the town website. All interested persons may attend this meeting and provide verbal or written communication regarding this application. This occurred in the Journal Inquirer on April 14th, 2023 and April 21st, 2023. Public participation. This is our public participation portion of the meeting. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak on something that was not on tonight's agenda? And is there anyone online that would like to speak on a topic that is not on tonight's agenda? Okay. Hearing none. We will move on to approval of minutes. April 11th, regular meeting, 1848. Does anyone have any additions, corrections, comments?
No, I'm good.
As am I. Okay, if we don't have any changes, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve the meeting minutes of regular meeting 1848 held Tuesday, April 11th, 2023 as presented.
There is a motion on the table. Is we have a second?
I was absolutely have to say.
Stacy, you wish to second this?
Sure, sorry.
Oh, she.
I could, I have 10. So, to take them.
Okay, so we do not have enough, so we will table this to a future meeting. We have receipt of applications. We have 3 that we are receiving this evening. We have PZ 2023-13 for 28 Abbey Road, the town of East Windsor, for a site plan modification for construction of a building addition, renovations to the senior center / community building. We have PZ 2023-14, the town of East Windsor requesting a text amendment to zoning regulation section 6.601.2 parking lot design and 900.3 site plan applications. And we have PZ 2023-15, the town of East Windsor, for a site plan modification for the construction of a playground at 27 Reservoir Avenue. These 3 applications are received this evening, and they will be discussed at a future meeting. Performance bonds, actions, and permit road extensions, we have none. So we will move on to our continued public hearing. BV 2023-2 from 118 Prospect Hill Road, special use permit for a site plan review for a proposed trucking terminal. The applicant is Crane Properties LLC.
Governor puts us in a different spot.
I'm going to switch the camera so that.
Just nice.
I struggle with right and left.
That's excellent.
Okay.
Good evening, for the record, my name is TJ Baresi. I'm a licensed engineer and land surveyor. I am the principal owner of Baresi Associates in Windsor. Office is located on Prospect Hill Road. Currently representing Carl Crane of Crane Properties LLC regarding a special use permit for a proposed truck terminal. Quickly summarize from the last meeting. The application for a property known as 118 Prospect Hill Road. Shown here outlined in green. Here's Prospect Hill Road going north. Sophia's Plaza is right here, so 50 south east of Sophia's Plaza. Located in the M1 manufacturing zone. Property is accessed off Prospect Hill Road through a common driveway on land owned by 113 Prospect LLC. That common drive is also utilized by 112 Prospect Hill Road, which is Eversource, and 116 Prospect Hill Road, which is Cheeseman. There's an existing 10,500 square foot building on the property located right there. The use of this property has changed over the years. Right now, the building is vacant. The rear portion of the property right here being utilized as a playground mulch processing operation. The applicant is requesting a special use permit to once again turn this existing building back into a truck terminal. The rear portion of the property back here will remain as its continued use, which is a playground mulching operation. Switch plans here, go to a layout plan. Once again, here's Prospect Hill Road, here's the Field Plaza, here's the access drive coming in, Eversource Cheeseman. Here's the existing building. This is the playground mulch processing area back there. Truck terminal will be utilizing the existing building, which has 20 loading docks currently. Proposing to add 28 trailer spaces in this area and over here. And also 2 vehicle spaces on the east side of the building, right there for the employees or regular vehicles. At the last meeting, there was quite a bit of discussion about a few items, which were addressed on this plan that was presented back in February. However, since that meeting, some items and questions came up which I believe are addressed on these plans right now. One of them was a traffic study. A traffic study has been submitted by Hesketh Associates to reflect the proposed truck terminal use. There was a question about lighting. A lighting and photometric plan has been prepared by S&K Associates, which I believe is part of your package. The question about a fueling station. A fueling station is not being proposed and not shown on this plan. If any future tenant desires to have a fueling station, they'll have to come back with a plan showing where they desire to have one. There was a question about snow removal arch. At this point, we're also not proposing a snow removal arch, and it's not part of the plan. Similarly, the future tenant, if they decide to use a snow removal arch, they'll have to show where they want to use it, come back with a revised plan for that use. A lot of those snow removal arches are movable and temporary anyways. But again, if that's how they decide to remove the snow off their trucks, they'll have to show that. Snow storage, areas for snow storage are now shown on the plan over this area here. There's a lot of discussion regarding the existing geometry of tractor trailers taking a right turn out on Prospect Hill Road. The existing right turn radius at that intersection in the existing access drive here will not be reconstructed or widened. That work entailed for that improvement will require encroachment on land of others, Sophia's Plaza land, and actually this whole entire access drive is on land owned by 113 Prospect LLC, which is different from the application property. Additionally, the existing access drive has been in existence, used and presently being used for tractor trailer ingress and egress by the applicant's property and the neighboring properties. In lieu of reconstructing that right turn radius geometry, we're proposing signage for tractor trailers to have a left turn only option. We believe that will help fix that problem of having to take that right turn. They don't have to take that right turn. We don't have to rebuild that geometry. Trucks coming out on Prospect Hill Road will be forced to take a left turn only. That's it for changes to the plans from the last meeting and discussions. Right now I'll have Scott Hesketh come up and talk about his traffic study.
I have one question.
Yep.
On your plan here. From the exit onto Prospect Hill, you're showing, as you're looking at the plan, coming towards Prospect Hill, that little is not on our plan.
What's that?
I see you're coming out, you're showing a piece here, aren't you?
No.
Yeah, I know my eyes.
That's okay. Yeah.
Oh, I see.
You just-
You covered it.
Yes, okay.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
It's on Prospect Hill Road. Property.
That's seen on Prospect Hill with this radius.
Good evening. For the record, my name is Scott Hesketh. I am a licensed engineer in the state of Connecticut, firm of F.A. Hesketh and Associates. And I'm the author of the March 24th traffic statement and a subsequent letter dated April 17th, which was submitted in response to town comments. We were asked to take a look at the traffic impacts of this proposed reuse of the existing building as a trucking terminal. In order to do that, we researched the files of the Connecticut Department of Transportation. The DOT had traffic volume counts on Route 5 south of Route 140, which were conducted during February of 2022. The conduct counts indicate that Route 5 carries an average daily traffic volume of about 7,000 vehicles. A morning peak hour, 371 vehicles, and an afternoon peak hour of 611 vehicles. In addition, our office went out and did manual turning movement counts at the intersection of the Route 5 and the site driveway, which serves the Eversource facility, this property and one or two other properties as well. Those counts were conducted during late February and early March of 2023. And we were able to, we did those counts during the morning and afternoon peak commuter hours to get the directional distribution of traffic and the turning movements passing through the intersection. The results of those counts are presented in figure 2 of the report. In terms of the proposed development, it's a 10,420 square foot building. Be used as a trucking terminal. In our original report, we used a land use code 150 from ITE, which is a warehouse development. We projected a total of 25 trips during the morning peak hour, 28 trips during the afternoon peak hour. Town staff commented that the applications for a trucking terminal. So our revised report dated April 17th included the traffic volumes for that particular use. A trucking terminal would generate 21 trips during the morning peak hour, so 4 fewer trips than the warehouse. In the afternoon peak hour, a total of 37 trips, which opposed to 28 trips from our original report, so slightly more. Still about 1 trip every other minute during the peak hours. We distributed that traffic at the site driveway intersection, assuming 65% of the traffic to the and from the north, and 35% of the traffic to and from the south. We conducted capacity analyses at the site driveway intersection, both the background and combined traffic volume conditions. And the analysis indicates that the Route 5 approaches in the northbound and southbound direction operate at levels of service A during peak hours, and that the site driveway approach operates at level of service B or C during the peak hours, level service B in the afternoon for the combined traffic under a warehouse development, and level service C during the combined traffic volumes for the trucking terminal development, with delays of about 15 or 16 seconds per vehicle on average exiting the site. So because this is an existing building which is being reused, and it's a low volume of traffic that we're projecting for this particular use, you can see that there's very little impact or no impacts from the site related traffic on the local roadway network. As you've heard TJ explain, it is an existing site driveway out to Route 5. The radius for right-hand turns is difficult. Trucks exiting the facility, making a right-hand turn, as they do currently, will have to wait for a gap in the traffic stream, make a right-hand turn, and they'll typically go over the double yellow center line to make that particular movement. If the commission feels that that is inappropriate and should not continue to happen, the developer is proposing to install signs on the site driveway indicating the tractor trailer truck should make a left-hand turn out of the site, head down Route 5 and access I-91 at via Route 140 at that location. If you're traveling in a southbound direction, it's probably a wash for truckers. Traveling in the northbound direction, I think it'll travel an additional 2,000 or 2,400 feet. It'll take them an extra minute or so, but it'll probably be a better situation for them. So that's our report in a nutshell. If the commission has any particular questions in regards to traffic, I'll be happy to address them at the appropriate time. Is there anything else you wanted to add in terms of the application?
I could just do a little quick summary.
All right, TJ is going to summarize, and I'll be available to answer any questions should the commission have them. Thank you.
Once again, proposing to restore the original use of the building back to a truck terminal. Revisions have been made to the plans at the request of the commission and town staff. Letter is submitted with the revised plans summarizing the changes and how the application meets the Chapter 7 special permit requirements of the zoning regulations. We believe all changes and revisions satisfy the latest memos dated 4/12 and 4/20. Photometric plan has been provided, truck set has been provided. Talked about this right turn geometry out to Prospect Hill Road already. That pretty much summarizes everything. At this point, we're more than happy to answer your questions.
Let's start down here under the table. Frank, do you have any
I don't have any questions now.
Stacy?
Okay, so I'm brand new, everybody, so this, could be a little unlike, but I read through. I had a little time last night to read through. But is that left turn only gonna be enforceable? Or is it gonna?
It would have to be yes and no,
Maybe.
maybe. I mean, it's hard to enforce it without police there. But if what I would figure is once they start making that left turn movement and going down to pick up 91 down by just past Walmart, they'll realize that's an easier situation for them.
So will someone within your organization kind of monitor what's going on there to make sure it's enforced or not necessarily?
Whoever the tenant is, they can talk to their truck drivers to make sure that they abide, yeah. You know, maybe they police themselves. You know, as a truck terminal owner, maybe he tells his drivers, hey, if you guys take that right-hand turn, you're creating a big liability for us. So, you know,
Certainly the property owner will notify the leasing tenant that those are the restrictions and that as you're leasing it, you know, you're basically agreeing
subject to
or
having your-
abiding to this. I suppose there'll be certain times of the day when there's nobody there and will somebody make a right-hand turn out? It's difficult to stop them if it's absolutely easy to do.
Right,
During peak hours when there's lots of traffic in both directions and. So,
I just am imagining that it's probably just as hard to wait and find traffic to make a right that extends as it's going to be for them to make that left. So like right now, when they're making this right turn, you were mentioning that they had to wait for a break in the traffic because they're likely to cross the line,
correct.
right? So they're already waiting for a decent break, so they'd be doing the same to make the left.
So if
turn.
you're thinking of that turn, they're waiting for that window
So
also.
either way, they're waiting for a window.
correct.
I know the people in businesses there on that driveway, and I get along with them all really well, and I would have a talk with all of them serious about, you know, respecting that.
We did review the accident data at the intersection. I think it was the last 5 years of data. There only appeared to be one accident at the intersections. And I don't think it had anything to do with vehicles entering or exiting the site driveway. A vehicle went off the road in the southbound direction and hit the guide rail on the opposite side of the road. I guess it's possible they could have been avoiding somebody coming out of the driveway, but from the accident report, it does not appear so. So, you know, the trucks have been going into and out of the driveway for an awful long time, and it doesn't appear to have been an issue to date, so.
Thank you.
Building was built in 65, so I mean, that's how long
It's been working this way for a long time.
And you have any? No. I have a couple things. So I'm kind of looking at more on the return trip coming back in. If tractor trailer traffic comes off of the Bridge Street exit, comes up the hill and makes the turn, and then we'll now be turning a left-hand turn into your property. Do you know what the distance is from that driveway to the traffic light out at the corner of top of Bridge Street?
I know it's 2,000 feet to the exit ramp.
No, I'm just.
I don't have that on.
It has to be in excess of 750 feet, just guessing. I don't have a plan in front of me, but.
Cause I'm just thinking if, you know, 53-foot trailer plus tractor, you know, 80, 90 feet total. If we end up having multiple trucks waiting to be able to, for a break in the traffic to be able to make that left-hand turn, are we now gonna encroach into the intersection?
Looking at the key map, it's a little over 1,000 feet.
1,000 feet.
Well, in the traffic report, we did present in our original report, the Institute of Transportation Engineers, at least for warehousing developments. Not only does it provide the overall trip generation based on the square footage of the development, it also projects the number of trucks during peak hours at the development. So during the morning and afternoon commuter peaks, for a warehouse development based on the 10,500 square foot, on average, they project 0 peak hour trips. On a daily basis for our warehouse use, they're projecting a total of 13 trips, so not a very high number. It's not a very big building. So that the odds of there being 2 or 3 trucks waiting to execute a turn.
If you have 20 dock positions, there'll be 20 trucks assigned to that.
There'll be 20 trucks on the site. They won't all arrive simultaneously and
No,
leave
They
simultaneously.
well, they do dispatch usually all at once. They come back staggered, but it's a possibility of having multiples coming back around the same time. But I mean, it may be something to consider, just as you're telling the tenant left turns only, maybe telling the tenants they have to come off the Walmart exit and come and make a right-hand turn back into the property versus come up Bridge Street to re-enter. The other thing I really don't see is employee parking. So if we have 20 docks, 20 trucks, so the trucks are gonna be domiciled out of there, so the guy's gonna start his day and end his day there, so you're gonna have 20 employees that drive the trucks, plus dock workers, plus office workers. I'm roughly estimating about 35 employees. Where will 35 employees park there?
The only parking we show for regular vehicle parking is
Show two.
the
yeah.
2 spaces right there.
Every one of those truck drivers is gonna show up in a personal vehicle, park it somewhere and get into his truck. They usually don't bring commercial vehicles home with them.
No, is that how that operation works?
Not all the time, I mean, every place is different, of course, you know, I mean, sometimes there gypsies that come in to unload a load and they might be there for half a day and drive back out. It's not all employees, it can be a lot of employees, so, you know, every company runs a little different like that. As far as them all leaving at one time. I don't, a lot of them that I've experienced aren't like, okay, 7 o'clock, everybody out of here. It's, you know, this trailer getting empty, this one's getting filled, waiting for a product for somebody's trailer and all of that, so it's not like just 20 of them, 7 o'clock shooting on out of there, it's not. Not like that, you know, there's timed out through the day and when they have to be places.
No, if it's the last leg delivery side of it, they do dispatch around the same time. If it's just a transit terminal that they're making load switches as more like a hub type situation, then they don't, but this is kind of a small building for that kind of a setup. This is probably more likely gonna be your last leg delivery terminals size, and they tend
I'm
to.
not sure about that, but.
I've been in the business for 39 years, so
If
that's what I do.
if we need more vehicle spaces, we'd obviously have to eliminate some of the trailer spaces and change those into car spaces. Which,
I mean, because I don't.
What's the key to it? I can't.
Gotta get orientated there. The building is here. We got spaces here. Why couldn't they be right along the side of the vehicle there?
yeah, we can put them wherever they fit, and if we have to eliminate some trailer spaces, we'll have to eliminate some trailer spaces for employee parking.
We park on the west side of this. Where this, the 16, 15 trailer spaces are, you have the existing RAP,
Mm-hmm.
and those trailers, what are they? It's showing 42 feet off the property line. You could stack an 18-foot space, so you could pick up 15 there. If they put some protection between the trailer spaces and the employee spaces, I think they might. I think they could get something there. I don't see why they couldn't.
There is some room to work with there.
And regardless of what kind of operation goes in there, I think if they're gonna run with more than just 2 employees, and that's kind of currently what you show with only 3 vehicle parking spaces. Mike, from your memo, were all of your questions satisfied?
So the first one really pertains to the driveway access, which they kind of addressed with the proposal to eliminate the right turn. You know, I think, I don't know the driveway well enough to know if the turn is so tight that they'll make it once, realize they can't make it, it's too tight and won't make it again. You know, if they're, you see where trucks will drag over the side, and if there's some topo there.
That's Google Earth.
Yeah, so I mean, there's like some traffic boxes and other things there, so. Depending on how it's laid out, if they can't make that right turn easily, then, you know, it may be a problem that solves itself. But if they're proposing left turn out only. Then I think that. I mean, it's not something they're gonna want to continue to do because there's drainage underneath that driveway. If they're gonna hang off the side, it's gonna make that whole thing fail. The only other thing, and that it is probably likely that it's my inability to read the traffic study, but that second comment, which I think, I hope you got my report. What I was not able to follow, again, and this is probably a me thing, is that there's a significant level of traffic generated based on the ITE for a truck terminal versus a warehouse. And so that ADT value was blank in the revised report. And I think you said there was an increase in the PM peak hour, but what I looked at, which was an older edition, it's generating the 1.72 trips per thousand versus the 0.19 or 0.17 or whatever it was shown. So I guess I'm just not understanding how such a significant change in generation would result in such an insignificant change in what we're to expect on the property.
I don't know if I completely understood your comment, but the warehouse uses are projecting, again, 25 and 28, the truck terminal was 21 and 37. I don't know if that's a significant.
So when you look at the code, the land use code for warehouse, it's 0.19 per thousand. Was the trip generation in the ITE
For which,
for
hour?
150, that land use code 150.
right, for which morning peak hour, afternoon peak hour, daily,
That was just
because,
and then when I compare that same from that same table, it's showing 1.72. It's calling it trips per movement.
I think,
Sorry, hold on. PM. PM peak hour for land use code 30 is 1.72, and for land use code 150, it's 0.19. PM peak hour, sorry, I missed that. So I'm just trying to understand sort of how the numbers get there.
well, one, they're two different data sets, obviously, and there might be a significant number of warehouses which have a lower rate, but then a handful which have a higher rate. And depending on the size of your facility, so that you're looking at two different databases, so. But the projections that we've given you in the report are based off of the average rates or the equations from ITE, and we're giving you numbers that are close to the same at 25, 21, and 28 and 37. So I mean, I didn't do an in-depth dive into the averages and the equations. And I don't have my glasses and I'm blind as a bat, so trying to read some of these numbers are difficult here, but. If you look at the, let's see, this is the weekday average rate, 1.71 trips, in the warehouse, yes, in the morning is 0.17, in the afternoon is 0.19. Looking at the. I can't explain it. I didn't do a deep dive into the numbers, but the ITE use is, the numbers are what we're required to use. It's the standard in the engineering field. Some of them have fitted curve equations. They may have an average rate of 0.19, but you got a fitted curve, which gives you a different result. So, but I think the numbers that we're projecting here in the report are consistent with what we've observed in other facilities in terms of average rates and the like, so we'd have to.
I mean, I can, yeah, and like I said, this is something that I've found that I'm be happy to, we can send it to you and you can say, okay, here's why that isn't applicable. Or to make sure that, like I said, it's what you're referencing. I think the point was just, from what I saw, the trips generated with a truck terminal would be significantly higher than a warehouse. But the calculations or the projections in the revised report were not really much of a difference. And so I think we just want to make sure that we're not expecting this the assumption is that there's gonna be X number of trips, but if the calculation is actually significantly higher, then some of these other problems that they have to decide if they're comfortable with could be a bigger deal or not. If we're gonna look at significant increase in traffic. You know, if it's a few trips per day and they have to make a left turn, it's may not be something they're uncomfortable with, but if it's 1.72 versus 0.19 could, I mean, that's like a 10
Well,
increase.
let's put it this way, we've got 20 bays.
Mhm.
If each one of those bays emptied up in an hour, you'd have 20 exiting trips.
Right,
And let's say 20 new trucks showed up, that'd be 40 trips in an hour, and I'm told it takes somewhere between 2 and 5 hours to load a truck. So if you have to unload it and then reload it, you're looking at each bay is gonna be used once or twice, maybe 3 times, maybe 4 times in a day. And 20 bays, 4 times in a day is probably 80 on a daily basis, and then you got whatever employees coming in. Employees are probably coming in the hours prior to the trucks going out, because they gotta get them ready, get them going. Or maybe they were loaded overnight and the guy comes in his car and picks up a truck and leaves. So a 20 bay facility is, you're gonna be hard pressed to be over 100 trips on a daily basis, I would think. Maybe, and during peak hours, when your background traffic volumes are the highest, I think the numbers we projected in the report seem to be pretty accurate based on the number of bays. Now this, it's not FedEx where you've got, 250 bays and tractor trailer trucks, and every FedEx truck leaves at 6:35 because they got to make deliveries by 10 o'clock. But even if everyone did leave all at once, you're looking at 20 to 25 trips during that peak hour, and I think those are the numbers that we projected in the report.
Anything else, Mike?
No, I think I'm okay.
I have one other question to ask. Looking at the photometric plan. So the lighting proposed is strictly going to be located on the building itself. Nothing out for the staging areas or anything like that. Two concerns. Number one, if you do end up having to have additional employee parking spaces out in the back areas that we're talking about in that gravel area, there's no lighting there at all for them. People would be crossing pretty much a dark drive aisle. Your photometric at best is showing maybe a 0.2 lumen in the drive aisle itself, so that it's kind of a dark area there. And then any of these trailer spaces, they're going to be backing into a completely dark spot too. Mostly, how we're gonna address the employee parking.
Where we show employee parking, they'll have to have some lighting there. Right now, we're focusing on the lighting all around the building where all the activities taking place. And the buildings that need to have it lit up like an airport.
Okay, this is a public hearing. Is there anyone in the audience that'd like to comment on this application? Is there anyone online that'd like to comment on this application?
Hi, it's Noreen Farmer, 247 South Water Street. I think you talked about some of the questions I had. I'm curious about, since they have a problem taking a right-hand turn out, are the trucks going to have the same problem taking a left turn, left into it if they come off of Bridge Street? Which my concern is, I travel by there a lot, and this is right past where you kind of lose those 2 lanes and it goes into 1 lane, up there on that section of the road. So if you've got trucks that are trying to take a left-hand turn into there and you have a truck in there trying to take a left-hand turn out of there, is there enough room in the front of it for them to accomplish that? And my problem with that is that if everybody's got to head to the intersection down by Walmart, that's its own issue to begin with. That has its own traffic problems on an ongoing daily basis. And so additional truck traffic coming through there, if they're coming north of 91, to get off at that exit, to take a left, to go up and take a right into there, that's its own problem. So I'm mostly concerned about, what happens up in that little area where you go from 2 lanes to 1 lane if you've got trucks trying to leave and trucks trying to come in, and that entrance isn't wide enough for them to accomplish these turns. And my only other comment is I live directly across the street from the new Silverman project. That everybody's concern was the amount of problems that you have with all of these trucks that are going to be coming in and out of this facility. And I can tell you, I haven't been stuck behind a truck once since they opened, but I don't know if that's a warehousing facility or if it's a trucking terminal. I'm not sure what the difference is, but I'm not so much concerned about the extent of the traffic. It's the exiting and entering this facility based on that front area. That's all. Thank you.
I'm not sure if the person online can see, but the issue with vehicles getting into and out is not a capacity issue. It's a geometric issue. Making the right-hand turn, we're kind of at a 75-degree angle, not a 90-degree angle. So this radius here is difficult. So when the trucks come out, they making that difficult. It's difficult to make the right-hand turn because there's just not enough pavement. You need a very wide sweeping arc. Coming southbound and making the left in, since you're on the opposite side of the driveway, and the truck it's basically a much larger radii, they can certainly make that turn. Now, if a truck pulled all the way out, would it be difficult for the two of them to go past each other? As it would if anyone pulled all the way out, even 2 passenger vehicles, when cars come out and drive up past the stop bar have difficulties. But right turns in, left turns out. Geometrically, it's fine. And based on the traffic volumes in the driveway and on Route 5, vehicles should be able to make those movements, there may be times when they have to wait. Obviously, you always have to wait for a gap in traffic, but the calculations indicate that vehicles will not be waiting on average a long time. Someone may wait 45 or 50 seconds, but then the guy behind them might follow them right out as well. So when we talk about levels of service B or C, we're looking at on average, 10 to 15 or 20 seconds of delay per vehicle. So yes, and 2 tractor trailer trucks, if they, coming down, they know the geometry, they see the geometry, they'll be used to the geometry, they'll see each other, know what's going on, and tend to make room for each other. Because 1, they work together, and 2, they're familiar with the environments as they're coming into and out of the facility. In terms of the intersection of Route 5, Route 140, is it a busy intersection? Yes. I think we want these trucking kinds of facilities in close proximity to the interstate highway system, so that they're not coming off the highway system and driving long distances over either state highways or local roadways. So we tend to put these types of facilities closest to the interstate highways, where there tends to be most of the traffic in town, because we funnel traffic to the interstate highways so people can get to and from long distances. So is there a lot of traffic at that intersection? Certainly. But the handful of more vehicles that we're proposing during peak hours will not make a significant impact on that particular location.
Thank you.
Right. Anybody have any further questions?
I have one. The access road. I understand it's under a different ownership name. Mr. Crane, do you own the access road?
I own the LLC, yes.
And have you considered widening it towards the Eversource side, like getting an easement from Eversource?
No, I didn't, it's just, what's going on there and what we want to do has been going on there for from 1965. People, you know, if there's a truck pulling out, another trucker knows what to do, or, you know, they work together. They're not working against each other, and this is something that's going on every day currently. And I did change the building use to a forestry operation, which I got rid of. And that trucking terminal always had trucks in and out of it, of mine and other people's. So changing it back to what it was, even in my forestry operation, took a lot of trucks. So the trucks never stopped. It's not like we just stopped having trucks out of there and now we want to start it again. We've had no problems there. Goes on every day and it'll continue. I mean, other people can use my driveway and my everything like that, but I can't because the companies, you're not gonna stop Cheeseman from doing it, right?
So my concern is that we were presented at the public hearing with the issue with the turning radius. And now it's a use that. You changed that use over to the sawmill in the 80s, is that correct?
90s.
Okay, 90s.
Well,
So,
I bought it in 95.
Okay.
So I was in the trucking business then. So it was probably early 2000s when I changed it to forestry operation.
okay, so it's been a couple decades, right? And you're proposing to change the use to go back to a use that.
But it was built
Right.
for it.
And so that issue came up and, I guess I was hoping that it would have been addressed in a little more detailed way. Because there's options there. If you have tenants that need to use that road, I would think they would be very, amenable to allowing some widening on their property under an easement. Just a 2 cents.
So at this point, I mean, I guess we have a couple of unresolved questions or issues. In my opinion, the largest one is employee parking. So I think we need to show where you're gonna park employees and what lighting you're gonna provide for employees, because no matter what size operation goes in there, they're gonna have more than 2 employees, and currently that's all you have is 2 parking spots. So that's gotta be corrected.
Yeah, that could easily be done just by changing some line striping and showing spaces for
You're
cars,
gonna provide protection, you're gonna provide crosswalks, you're gonna provide whatever you need.
depending on where they are.
Exactly. So with that, then I would say we should continue the public hearing.
Or to the next meeting, for how long?
So I think we should be able to resolve by the next meeting.
Okay. I'll make a motion to continue the public hearing on application PZ 2023-2 till our next regularly scheduled meeting.
Is there a motion on the table? Is there a second? Second, Stacy. Any other discussion? Call for a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. Continue to the next meeting.
Mike, who is your second?
Stacy.
Thank you.
TJ, you need to handle stuff. Thank you, everyone. Thank you very much.
Next meeting is at Scout Hall.
For that.
28 Ave. 28 Ave Road.
All right, have a great day.
Okay, next item on the agenda is a new public hearing. Z 2023-12 for 115 Bridge Street, zone change. Map change from a B1 to a R1 zone. Who's here to speak on that?
Of course. Hello, everyone. Molly Bosa, my husband, Steve Boyer. So we are requesting a change of zoning. Currently, before it was B1 mixed use. We use the downstairs as a business. The upstairs was residential. Since the shutdown, we went remote in terms of our work, and we haven't used it in a while. And the tenants really like the peace and quiet that came with none of the business being there. So in hearing from them, we decided to really accept their request to make it more residential. It is a 4-family, and right now there's 1 family and then 3 other roommate situation. We have residential to our right if we're facing from the road, and then business to our left. And really, it's a return to the original use that the Chapman family and the descendants had originally used the house for as residential. And probably in the 80s, it got changed to mixed use B1. So there's no new structure, no new parking. It's really simply just a change of use. Any questions?
You said it was a 4-family,
Mm-hmm.
so there's 4 residential units in there.
Correct. Correct. I originally used the downstairs for my business when that was the business zone. And we moved out a little over time when the shutdown happened and our staff work remotely.
Could I ask a question, maybe Mike? We did a lot of talking about Warehouse Point and trying to do mixed business and residential. How does this fit with that concept? Is this on the fringe exterior to it?
We talked about, this would be sort of in a transitional area. One of the things that we would deal with because of the way that the types of construction and the types of structures is really, I think it's a case by case basis as far as the setup of the interior and what will work. When that whole project is done, we map all that sort of plan is adopted in place. The flexibility would likely be there either way, right? So if the building is sort of most appropriate to function in this manner, that would be allowed within that.
Okay.
But if somebody else wants to do something different with it, I think Warehouse Point would be flexible in either way. So it's not, I don't think it's really gonna, yeah, I don't think it's gonna make what we're trying to accomplish there harder.
Okay, great.
Stacy, you have any questions?
Only in that it's never been used as a family before, correct?
Correct. 4 units.
It's never been 4 units.
Previously, the previous owner had 4 units,
They had
correct?
4 units,
Mhm.
so they had parking for 4 units.
Correct.
Frank, you have any questions? Yeah, I really don't see any other issue that I had with this and all of them. So we
Can I just ask one more question?
Sure.
Um. It looks like it abuts an M1, the gray color, and an R2. So I would ask, you don't see this as spots.
So I think, I don't know if I captured it in my little screenshot, but there's. Yeah, so there's R1, there's R2, there's M1, there's
So it's a
B1,
mixed bag of
yeah,
warehouse point.
and I
It's
had,
across the street from another R1.
and that's likely based upon them just dropping things. As they looked at what the buildings were being used for when they created. But that area is a total hodgepodge.
Right, that's the warehouse point concept. Okay.
Any other questions?
So this is a public hearing. Is there anyone in the audience that has any comments about? Yes, sir.
Shall I stand here?
You can just stay and identify yourself.
Bob Light, 20 Rye Street, East Windsor. I want you to know for the record that I'm speaking as a private citizen, not as an unofficial of the town from a water commission standpoint. I drive by this house, or I face this house every time I come from a venue at the American Legion Hall, and as soon as I pass the funeral home, that beautiful building's in front of me. When I stop at the stop sign. I never knew that it was, belongs to an old friend, family friend, and business associate, so to speak, Molly Van Bongsteiner and her husband Steve. So I went by tonight just to see what it was all about. They did not ask me to come here and speak on their behalf, by the way. And I looked at it, I'm a big nut for architectural, and this is a beautiful residential facility with that brick facade in the front. It's not a facade, it's a brick building in the front. So I went around the back and saw where the addition was, plenty of parking and everything else. So I'm here to speak mostly of on behalf of the character, how long I've known them, and I think it'll make a good change, and I think they'd be good residential owners of that property there.
Thank you.
I'd like to speak also.
Hi, sir. Please identify yourself.
Pardon?
Please identify yourself for the
Yes,
record.
I'm Paul Benson with Benson Enterprises. We're the developers of Pasco Commons. Many people probably don't realize that the home that they're talking about is a sister home to Pasco's. They're both brick structures, same period, kind of very unique. We own the property to the right of this, number 111. And we're very interested in doing something there. We've been on hold with the town for quite a while, year and a half plus. We desire to do something there, not mixed use. We're having some difficulties in Pasco Commons now with mixed use because people want to work in their home and stuff like that. So we're starting to get some units that we're gonna maybe try to come to the town and our committee and everything else to convert these back to little residential units. There's such a great demand. There's a lot of seniors out there would love to have a little unit where they can live and survive and enjoy it. And they can walk to a store or whatever. It is so difficult to do the residential are much easier to deal with now than commercial. And that's just the way of life, and it's gonna change more so. So, I'm in favor of them doing this, which is great. We're working together also in Pasco Commons. And, I desire to do, my piece with not mixed use, because we're having difficulties. I would love to be able to do residential units. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else make the comment? Is there anyone online that would like to comment?
on this application.
Hi, Noreen Farmer, 247 South Water Street. I'm in support of them doing this. I understand that there's a great plan for Warehouse Point, but that is so far off from happening anytime soon, for a whole host of reasons. And so in the meantime, I think that people who own property there should be able to utilize that property to the best of their ability. I don't think holding it up because of a plan for where the Warehouse Point section, which is a good plan, that really is so far off, is really being fair to the people who own those properties that want to do something different with them.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else have any other questions or comments? Okay, then I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing on application PZ 2023-12. It's a zone change application for 115 Bridge Street.
We have a motion to close the public hearing. Do we have a second?
Second.
I'll second.
Okay, second by Stacy. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Thank you for your time.
Public hearing is closed.
Thank you for your time.
I think that we have enough information to vote on this.
I feel comfortable.
Okay, so then I'll entertain a motion on this application.
I'll make a motion to approve application PZ 2023-12. The zone change application for 115 Bridge Street to change the zone from B1 to R1. This approval is granted subject to the conformance with reference plans as may be modified by the commission in this approval and the following conditions / modifications. Finding that the proposed zone change is not in conflict with the plan of conservation and development. And condition number 1, this approval shall not become effective until the certificate of action has been filed with the East Windsor Town Clerk.
We have a motion to approve this application. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Stacy. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor say aye.
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 Unanimous. The application is approved. Okay, we have no old business or new business, we have other business. First item, we have an informal discussion with James Stanton on South Main and Abbey Road self-storage concept.
Good evening. My name is Jim Stanton. I wasn't going to bring these pictures out, but I thought it would be nice to share these tonight so you don't have to remember where we're talking about. And that's a picture in 1997 or 8. It doesn't look as pretty now because I don't live there. And the reason I moved is because I didn't want to weed whack all these fences, and you know, I rent it out to Tom Daggett now, and they do try to, you know, clean it up every once in a while, but you know, I'm gonna start tomorrow cleaning it up the way I like it to look. And this is a draft of the proposed text amendment that my lawyer drew up and wasn't able to be here tonight. And I think I have enough for everybody that we can share. I mean, a little. Very good. I think I have.
Yeah.
So preliminary text, but I think it's good to keep it simple and short and to the point. The reason I'm proposing a text amendment is because I want to build self-storage on that property. And in order to make a safer project, I want to eliminate the driveway on Route 5. And in favor of using the driveway to come and exit and entry on Abbey Road, which has a traffic light, and make that my front yard. Yeah, that's why I'm proposed. I'd like to instead of having 2 front yards, I'd like to have two side yards, 1 front yard, 1 backyard. The M1 zone allows approximately 57,000 feet of roof space on the property. But after I started working on it, I didn't really read it that closely. I didn't realize that in East Windsor, they really hold you to 2 front yards. I own 3 corners. I own 4 pieces of property. 3 of them are on corners, and in other areas, they let you designate which one you want to be the front yard, and so it turns the other one into a side yard. So I'm asking for a text amendment, or at least your consideration. I don't know how fast this moves along, but I'm kind of at a stalemate right now. I asked the engineers to make me up 2 plans, one with a side yard in the front along Route 5, and one without. And they don't want to do that because it changes all the drainage and all this other stuff. I don't see how it changes so much, but they do. So I don't have a plan yet. I just have a theoretical plan. And if I have 2 front yards on this property, I lose 49,260 feet of usable land. That's over an acre. That's my hardship, really. I'm going to lose a lot of property, and I won't be able to build the original project, which it's more viable, and I'm hoping to be able to create 2 jobs. I don't think I can if I go with the restrictions that is on this corner property right now. My lawyer made me drive up and down the road with him the other day when we were here to look at the other properties, and I told him, I said, I have the only empty corner left in East Windsor. I've had it for many years. I know the area. I've been here since 1982. So I moved along pretty slowly. I'm trying to speed up now, because I'm running out of time. And so with a side yard treatment that I would like to get, I was able to build an equestrian style building with a taller, steeper roof line. I would put a nicer cupola on it than that kind of ugly plain thing. And it would block the plain old, roof lines that they have on all the other buildings, like I will have on all the other buildings, because this is much more expensive. And with the treatment of here, that costs quite a bit more. Most people don't want to do that. The building companies that I've priced buildings on say you should always have the doors facing the road. I said, yes, but it's obnoxious. It looks ugly. I don't want to be ugly. I could have been ugly years ago. If I wanted to build ugly, I could have put some car dealerships up and rented them out.
but I don't want ugly, you know, and I've been holding out for a long time. And I really didn't understand this business, and I didn't think it was logical to me. But apparently, we all want to store stuff, and as I was sitting here thinking about it tonight, I have a 3-car garage, and I have an extra storage building on one of my properties, and it's pretty full. So I'm guilty of that too, you know, of having too much stuff. I have 2 small boats, and we have 4 cars, so it's easy to fill it up. The other thing is, and I would give you a bigger presentation to, you know, come in for a full site plan review and all that, of what I've built in the past for houses. I like to try to go a little extra, and I like to try to come up with something different. And that's what I've been thinking about with this building. I mean, this could be the last building I ever built. I want it to look pretty for the next 50 years or 100 years. I'd like to say I'd be around in 40 years, but I don't think I will be for another 40 years, but I've been here now for 41 years on this site. I don't really want to look at this when I come down at Route 5. And that's, if I go 60 feet from the property line, I have to have doors facing the road. I'll also have a lot of wasted space, and I won't be able to put a building out in the back someday. I wanted to phase this anyway and come in with 4 buildings in the middle of the property and have the outside storage, which I understand is very much needed in the area because the other self-storage places don't really have outside storage. I want that to be the back. I don't really want it to be anywhere near the front. I don't want it to be visible from the road. So I'm proposing to, with a text amendment, to build something pretty and rural looking. I don't think a lot of people realize that within 1.5 miles of this site, we have 5 indoor arenas for horses. So even though you wouldn't think of East Windsor as a horse community, we are a horse community. We are in South Windsor, we're in, and mostly in East Windsor. We have more in East Windsor than we do in South Windsor. I know this because I had horses for many years, and my wife sells horse feed, so she knows where every horse is pretty much in Connecticut, Rhode Island, Massachusetts, Long Island, New York, and parts of New Jersey. Do you have any questions that you might have that comes to mind right off the bat?
Yeah, I have a couple. I mean, obviously, text amendment does not just apply to your property, it would apply to any property that fits the criteria.
Sure.
So regardless of what you want to put on there, you know, we can't hold anybody to saying you have to build something pretty and nice. It just really, what you're looking for is changes and setbacks.
Right.
My question is, are you pretty much equal frontage on both streets or?
No.
Which one do you have more frontage on?
Route 5.
Route 5. I mean, the first thought that came to me was you could define a piece of property as the front, as being whichever street it has the most frontage on. And then consider the other street as a side yard.
Or whichever side, whichever frontage has a driveway.
Well, in this case, there really isn't a curb cut or driveway at all.
No, I have a curb cut.
You do?
Yeah. And I can continue to use it, and I can expand on it, but I don't feel like the sight line is the best, you know?
But again, my thought is just to take any piece of property out there, whichever side is the longer, that's the front, whichever side is shorter is the side. Kind of applies to no matter how you do it.
I wish my lawyer was here to address that better than I can, but, you know, by eliminating the driveway on Route 5, which is a good idea.
Yeah,
because
I'm just saying, but then now, is it permissible to have access to a property through a side yard versus you have to have access through the front?
No, I have 2 front yards.
I'm not asking your spot, I'm just talking zoning in general. There's nothing that can think of that mandates that access to a property has to be through the frontage.
No. So, with like a rear lots and other things, they don't necessarily have a contiguous. Their frontage may not be where their driveway is.
Right.
I'm thinking of that example, I can't. Just whether.
So I mean, you could still, in this case, consider Route 5 as the front and still provide access through Abbey Road as a side yard access.
We could do that. Let's switch over to this. I told Ruth that the other day that, I'd like to come here with 2 proposals. I'll let you guys choose. No problem.
See, this doesn't come into play at all.
It does.
It text amendments.
You guys can do whatever you want. You're the zoning board. That's why they have a town attorney. He protects you guys. If you decide that I could build the Empire State Building on this property, I could, because you're the zoning board and you could make it happen. So I've been to lots of zoning meetings. They've done things in other places that I've been to and in East Windsor, because I own property here for 40 years. They did stuff here that there was no zoning rule and regulation. There was none. I could drive you around town and show them to you.
But the problem is, or not the problem, but the issue is, if the regulations say something, we cannot go against the regulations.
That's right. That's why I'm here for a text amendment.
And again.
It's only a small text amendment. It's not a big one. It doesn't paint the whole
Well,
town.
it's a big one. Any text amendment is a big one. Because you're talking about one specific piece of property. There's many properties in this town. If we make a text amendment and it's not,
It says Route 5.
and it's not,
Route 5. Route 5, that's the only thing it's talking about, not 140, not 191, not any, if you read the text amendment, and it can be adjusted. It can be adjusted up, down, any which way you want.
but I get the implication that you're inferring that we can do almost anything we want.
Well, you can, I've seen other towns do it.
Regardless of the regulations. Is that what you're saying?
I don't want you to do whatever you want. I've seen it done here in East Windsor, because I've owned property here since 1980. I've seen it. I've seen it in other towns where I've owned property. I own property in Enfield, I own property in Stonington. I watch all the zoning.
So
I've seen it, I've seen it for
You're
years.
saying that we can do what we want depending upon. who we are.
I've seen one town attorney stand up in front of a huge room full of people. And the zoning board was saying, well, can we do this? And he goes, yeah, you can do this. Your job is to decide what you want. And my job is to defend your decision down the road if there's a problem. And I'm sorry to even bring that up, but, this is a.
I've been on the board.
I can speak to this in the past.
I've lived in town for 85 years, 84 years.
Oh, you got me beat by a few years, but not a
Excuse me,
lot.
I've been on the board for 30 years, or approximately. And I don't remember, in my opinion, and I am getting a little feeble-minded. I don't remember ever going against regulations to satisfy anyone. And I think that's what you imply, and I take that as an insult.
I'm not insulting anybody. I'm just telling you, I've seen things happen and, I think the right thing to do is eliminate more driveways off of Route 5 because it's not a residential.
You're talking about a text amendment. And that's all we're talking about. That's my concern.
Okay, well,
And you had a question?
I guess I have a concern. In residential areas, not on Route 5. I think it's important to maintain the setbacks. On 2 sides when somebody has a corner lot. Otherwise, you start getting. Instead, say on in a R3 zone, the frontage is 150. And so your side yard setback is 50 feet. or your front yard and a side yard is 15. So if you let one side become 15, all of a sudden people are putting sheds and things right next to your house. And I have an issue with that. I hear you saying you only want it on Route 5. But I feel strongly that, in the residential zones, we maintain what we have.
Are you familiar with the property though? The picture there, the farmhouse is 12 feet from the property line. So if,
It's a non-conforming use.
yeah, and so it'll always be there. It's a historic house.
Obviously.
And I would be farther away with that. You know, I'm not,
When things pre-exist, they pre-exist. But I would not want to open the residential use to removing one of the,
it only asks for the commercial zone. There's nothing
yeah, no,
in that text amendment that says anything about residential. So it really narrows it down to just a very few properties. You know, maybe you would like to consult the town attorney about it, because, you know, they know more than I do.
happy consulting the town staff. Can you? I guess what he's proposing to do is add is it a replacement for the existing 301.1? Or is it a 301.2? So 301 stands? I see 301.1 on this and 301.1.
An exception could be a 301.1 with an exception.
Or something, yeah, because I would feel strongly we keep the existing.
One of the thoughts I have is, sightline. Going out onto Route 5, that one of the other stipulations might be that it be a traffic light.
Yeah.
Right, because I would be worried.
People were coming in.
Yeah.
Off of Route 5, but you said you wanted to have the driveway and entrance on Abbey Road, right?
On Abbey Road, yeah. And you know what? I probably will do that whether you give me a text amendment or not. But I also will probably be parking. You know, we have a new rule now in town. There's a 25-foot parking ban from the property line. So no more car dealers can park up towards on the road, which is kind of bad because you can't sell cars if they're way the heck back there because nobody can see them, you know. You know, I mentioned to somebody today, I think maybe my lawyer, I said, Mr. Balk was a little farsighted because he paved the state property, you know, it's paved right to the edge of the road. There is no grass in front of Balch's, never was, not in my lifetime. But I have 30 feet of grass that I mow now, and I've been mowing it for 41 years. So I will mow that 30 feet plus a few more. But I will, I guess, be allowed to have a driveway, you know, there and not park, but 25 feet from the line, I can start parking motorhomes and trailers and boats. And I only need maybe 10 or 12 feet to get, you know, by these things. So I didn't really want to even contemplate that. Because to me, I try to build something that's safe. And that's why I want to eliminate the driveway for safety reasons. And I want to build something that's, you know, the town can be proud of, because it is the entryway, the southern entryway from to East Windsor. And in East Windsor, the only two properties other than Pasco's that I admire is the Eatery, or now the Nutmeg, and Harkins Market. And Mr. Harkin, who probably a bigger penny pincher than I am, which is saying a lot. He did a beautiful building with roof lines and everything that he didn't need. He didn't need, maybe he has an office up there or something, but he doesn't use the upstairs for anything. But he spent a fortune to build that building, because he wanted a signature building, that's his place, you know? And I'm trying to do the same thing. I can't do it without your help.
Your intent is admirable, but the text amendment is the problem.
The town's asking for a text amendment, I noticed on the agenda also. I don't know what it's for, but I just noticed the town is asking for a text amendment. How are you gonna feel about that when that comes up? You're not gonna
We
get-
talked about it, it's a mistake in the regulations we're correcting.
Well, I could say that it's a mistake in the regulations here, because in Manchester and South Windsor, you can designate the road that you want to put your driveway on as the front yard. You don't have to have two front yards. Two front yards is a taking of the property.
But again,
I can make a good case that you're taking over a half acre away from me.
you have to talk about East Windsor, not South Windsor or Manchester. The text amendment proposed is for East Windsor.
Okay.
And that's the thing we have to consider and its implications. And I admire your construction. It's beautiful. There's no question about it. It's beautiful. You know.
But you don't think it's beautiful enough to give us a small text amendment that really will only affect this property, because there are no other developable corners on Route 5.
I think you're missing point. But that's not the point anyway.
Frank, at this point, this is not a formal application, it's just a discussion, so I hope you got an idea of.
Yeah,
Where you
I
want
got
to
it up
proceed?
here. Don't come in here with a proposal that is this. Come in with a proposal that's this. And I can get it done because I won't ask for any favor. That's all. I thank you for your time, though. I think you should check with the town attorney, because I feel as though you're taking my land and I'm not getting anything for it. I'm losing over a half acre on one street. And this zone M1 was designed for the industrial park. It wasn't designed for Route 5. And the town says, if I want to do self-storage, I need to be in an M1 zone. Well, there's only one self-storage in this town that's in an M1 zone. The other ones are in business zones. So, you know, right away, you guys, I think, are off base on several points. I don't think I'm gonna fight it. I think I'm just gonna build this. Because I've already wasted a year through health problems and wasting time with the wrong engineer. And now I'm feeling like I don't wanna waste any more time. I'm getting too old and I don't wanna waste any more time. And instead of having a retail business, which this is, it's not a wholesale business, not a fat manufacturing, it's not a warehouse, it's really a small customers. And I was thinking about, I would do a UPS drop-off point and mailboxes in order to be able to have two people working there. But I won't be able to do that, not with less than 50,000 square feet. It's not a business that I want to be in. So I have to do what they call a remote self-storage place. And, you know, there'll be some parking along Route 5, which I think will be totally ugly, but I won't be living across the street, so I won't have to look at it. Thank you very much.
Next item on our agenda is our affordable housing plan. We've spent a couple of sessions going through it, discussing it, and we have a draft now that's ready for vote to adopt it. So do we need to have any discussion or review?
I just wanted to put out there that we had the plan posted along with the presentations that have been presented here at a couple of different meetings on the website. And an interactive portal for folks to submit comments or, you know, on the plan, and that's been out for 4 to 6 weeks now. And so at the last meeting, we had no one come speak on the affordable housing plan. We left it up for another cycle. And so I think,
Did we get any comments of anyone who suggested changes?
no,
Yeah, I was gonna check to make sure that.
I looked today and the emails would come to me and I did test it, it didn't work. So, no, it didn't. I want to just, yeah, it was so good. For you to have a part. Okay.
So is that, at the point we're at now, we're ready to, Adopt it?
I feel like we're at that point. We've had plenty of opportunity for public involvement. We did have the survey. We sent the survey home with the elementary and middle school aged children as well. We have the survey online. And we've met here and discussed the plan several times.
And the plan that you have is a draft layout. It'll go into a final, like an actual layout through, so that it looks like a
It was
final
pretty,
document.
but the
Yeah.
text won't change.
Right,
The plan won't
but you
change.
can't, once you set that up, you can't edit the text, so, you know, there will be a final layout, which obviously. And we can make some changes and stuff at that point too, but what you're adopting final will far more polished than that.
No, I think we've had a lot of discussion and tried very hard to get input. Seems like it's time to adopt it.
Stacy, this is your first probably opportunity to see it.
Sounds like it's much.
I'm sorry.
No, no, from what I've seen so far, that's really. Almost there.
Just for background, it's mandated by statute and we're quite late on.
Okay.
Highlights. No, it's just that, it's like, I don't think we have the ability to continue.
I wouldn't not,
To
say that. I
reopen.
just wanted to go through the pages.
No problem. I didn't mean it that way. I just meant that
I think it sounds a great plan. Let's take one time.
Okay.
Seconded it that?
No,
We haven't-
Oh, we haven't even motioned it.
Uh,
Okay, we're not that late.
Then we have any further discussion. If not, then I'll entertain a motion to adopt the plan.
I'll make a motion to adopt the East Windsor Affordable Housing Plan as drafted 12/27/2022.
There's a motion to adopt the housing plan. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Frank. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Unanimous.
It's good. It is good.
Okay. Move on to correspondence. FOI.
There's a couple of items that we have received since the last meeting. One of them, we were notified that a complaint was filed with the Freedom of Information office, and that is in regard to 27 Reservoir and the playground application. Same thing. Our town attorneys will be answering the show cause request at that item.
Isn't a FOIA just giving a document?
No, this was a complaint that we didn't adequately notice.
Oh,
And yeah, it's a complaint. Not a request for information. The other item we did receive, was a notification from EBI Consulting. And it is in regards to AT&T antennas being changed out on the Connecticut Water Company water tower located at 104 Prospect Hill Road. So it's changing out the antenna and antenna. I don't know how you pluralize antennae. And updating the software. So it's attached to the tank, so no action for us, we're just notified.
That's the same one that they're doing the generator upgrade also?
That's the water tower down,
Right.
the
Eagle Street?
Verizon. Yeah, well, I can't remember, I'd be guessing. But that one was the generator for Verizon, the one that's AT&T on the water, that one. I think it's different water towers. But, so those are the two communications I have.
Okay. And under a business meeting, we have a update on the automotive dealerships.
So there's a handout in your packet that Danielle Boudreau prepared. She has been working with the car dealerships. You heard Mr. Stanton talk about not parking on the road. Well, that's bringing those facilities back into compliance with their site plans. Site plan approval. No parking on the grass. But she has been working with them to reconfigure parking and has had several staff site plan approvals that she's listed here. So you'll see the numbering sequence of the applications that are coming before they come in and have a gap. She's taken those numbers on those applications. There will be others that will go before the commission, particularly this 200 to 202 South Main Street Car City. They're working with a surveyor and J.R. Russo to do a configuration that works better for that site for safety and access for emergency vehicles and such. And then there's 2 outstanding sites that she has in red that she's still working on.
So these 8 to 11 have been approved?
Yeah, she did staff approval on her.
Okay. And what else? We have a discussion on a proposed text change to the zoning regulation section 405.
Yep, temporary events. This is another one that Danielle has drafted to replace the entire section. Temporary events, and in the back, we've made an effort to define what a temporary event is. And then kind of clean up the regs where it's getting confusing. You remember, several months back, I had a spreadsheet of all the places in the zoning regs that hinted at temporary events in that direction. So, we're gonna try and clean those out.
The question I had on this draft. Alcoholic beverages. Went to the, police commission. Right? No, they come to you,
They
okay.
come to you.
And then,
Section 805.
Events on town property, go to Park and Rec. What about events at schools?
That's still public property.
So would that go,
Would that be Board of Ed?
should it go to Park and Rec? If they do, the Boy Scouts do a car wash at the school? Or whatever.
Yeah,
It
good answer
doesn't,
to that. That's a good one.
I don't think Park and Rec should decide that one. Maybe handle it in your office, I don't know.
Yeah, okay.
And if it was at the library, you know, would it go to Park and Rec?
Good catch. You asking that question on the
Anyone else have any questions? I mean, this is still just a draft and you will
Yep.
obviously have much further discussion.
You wanna take time to look at it and think about it, we can bring it up again at the next meeting.
Okay, and then we also have a draft resolution. Is this actually something that's going to the siting council or?
Yes, that's the intention. So at the last meeting, we had a quick like brainstorming session. And that's captured under the consideration portion of this. It kind of just made a sandwich out of it with what the commission came up with and couched it as a resolution.
I don't know if you had an opportunity to read through this, but I think it's well written, definitely states a position that we discussed at our last meeting. And I think we've done our fair share. Time to share the wealth.
I think it's good. The one question I kind of asked Ruthann was, is it known if rain water coming off the panels could leach stuff into the groundwater?
You know,
So the way you said that, the health effects from radiation emitted is unknown. I think online there's people who allege when the glass breaks.
metals.
Or things, I will say. There's always a new chemical, a new thing
Well, I
out
know the
there. Do
question
we
about
know?
PFAS, if there's coatings on pieces and parts that make up a.
Right.
And then metals.
I know sometimes they put anti-glare coatings on it too, especially if you're like in a flight path and things like that. So
And I
there are other elements that they add to these.
Battery storage.
You just, I think it's another unknown. The way the, EMF
Okay.
is an unknown.
Do you want me to bring this
Will
back?
will this have any bite, any teeth in it?
Well, it's kind of an iterative process. There's a lot of wheels turning. There's legislation being drafted to try and quell things a bit, and there's letters being written and lawyers being hired, and so every little piece that this won't win something, but this with that and the other, you know, we're hopeful.
I mean, I think you brought up a good point that they probably didn't really consider about, proximity to residential. A lot of our agricultural is kind of co-mixed with residential, and it tends to be some of the easiest land to convert over, but it's also not the most conducive to people that have to live around it.
And then rural areas, they're probably on wells. And
Exactly.
who knows what it's doing.
And a poor farmer, he's on the horns of a dilemma. You can't
Yeah,
make money
like farming.
cropping, so you make money by letting it
Oh,
fall.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's hard.
Tell them what you want.
So I'll make that change and don't bring it back for the next meeting.
I'd be okay with it, moving it with
Yeah.
the understanding you're making that change.
Okay, and
The rest of the information is.
Yeah,
okay.
I'll gladly sign it, opinion and signature on it, sure. Absolutely. Yeah, sounds good. We have, anything else that we need to discuss?
The text amendment that we had discussed at the last meeting, that'll be public hearing on May 23rd.
That's, one of the applications we received tonight.
Yes.
That's 14.
14.
That's gonna be.
It's about 14.
Okay. Does anyone else have anything they'd like to bring up or discuss? Okay, then I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion, we adjourn.
We have a motion to adjourn on the table. Is there a second?
Just a second.
Okay. Any other discussions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous. We are adjourned at 8:15 PM.